Getting out into the real world was hard. When I hit that 3 year mark and wanted to quit because it felt so bad, well, I kept saying when I hit X number of dollar revenue, then I'll leave dentistry. I've been out of dentistry longer than I was in.
Dr. Brenner, Laura Brenner, is going to speak to us today. And I would like to say, first of all, thank you, Doc, for coming in and having this conversation. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Ward, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what got you started in dentistry? Why did you choose dentistry as a profession initially?
Yeah, well, as a kid, I always found it interesting going to my dental visits. And as I got older, I thought it always seemed like a very positive, happy work environment. And I liked the idea of helping people. And the image of dentistry is one of a lot of positivity and service and help and stability and respect too. I mean, it's a very noble career, and I just thought it was going to give me everything I wanted.
Okay, all right. And for a while there, you thought just that, correct? Or am I? Is there something that changed all of a sudden, or did it change over time?
You know, it actually changed over time.
Okay.
When I was in dental school, I enjoyed it. I mean, dental school was nothing like undergrad. Undergrad was this coming of age time for me, where you st learn more about yourself and become independent. But dental school felt really hard, but it just felt like part of the rite of passage that you're going to create this amazing life and like I said, get everything you want from it. And then getting out into the real world was hard. And those first 3 years, despite it being hard, I had a lot of hope because I knew that I just was new and that anytime we're new at something, it takes a while to build up your skills and practice and get better. And so I had a lot of hope, and that drove me through those first 3 years. And and every year I thought it's just going to get easier. And while it did get easier and I got better, I found that at year 3, I was still experiencing a lot of pain from my work, from emotional, mental pain. And suddenly I lost hope because as I had imagined, that 3 year mark I had given myself, it came and went, and things weren't this easy breezy, perfect thing that I envisioned dentistry to be.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So, what particular area were you practicing in dentistry?
I was in private practice
Hmm.
and I worked at a really fast-paced, high insurance practice that gave me a lot of experience, a lot of exposure. And at the same time, that high pace of it, everybody said, find a slower paced practice because then you can spend more time with your patients and you can get to know them better. And in that really fast paced arena, I was always worried. I couldn't build relationships. I was always scared of who was going to be mad at me, what was going to go wrong, who was going to sue me.
Hmm.
And so when I hit that 3 year mark and wanted to quit because it felt so bad, I convinced myself to stay and then found a private practice that was really like a private practice with zero insurance, slower pace. And then that was somewhat better, but I couldn't make the same income. And my income went, this is the Wealthy Dentist podcast. My income went down to a third of what
Wow.
my really nice income was at this
Right.
original practice.
Yeah.
I mean, there were months when I was saying to my husband, "Hey, can you help me pay my car payment this month because I don't have enough money?" And you never expect that as a dentist. And it's not because my student loans were so high.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow.
So yeah, so that was really challenging. And I went to the Pankey Institute four times and then found a Pankey practice to work in. And that was kind of a happy medium. And that got me through 10 years in practice. So it was always private practice.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole objective after that, I mean, both the practice that I went into that was a Pankey style practice and the one um basically the second and third practices that I was in, they were both fee for service.
Okay.
I mean, we took a little bit of insurance, Delta Dental, but it was really the good part about that was it did give me that time to be with patients, and I didn't have to see 30 patients in 8 hours of the day.
Right.
And that that helps you, well, that helps some of us, I think, love that hustle, but some of us need that slower pace to feel like we can concentrate and focus and really give our best. So I think it was the right move for me. But what was very interesting was I was a little naive and didn't know that taking insurance and working in a fast-paced practice that guaranteed good income was not always a guarantee.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And just because you're making more money doesn't necessarily mean that all everything is paid, even the emotional piece, right? You know, when
100%.
you okay. Okay. So when you got yourself to that 10th year, what was going through your mind at that point in
Well,
terms of
at
making
the,
that decision?
yeah, at that point I was hanging by a thread.
Oh,
Yeah, I would show up at my dental office and I remember standing over because I'm lefty, which is
oh.
also fun for dentists. Hey, lefties out there,
Right.
you know how it is. So
Yeah.
that doesn't
Right.
help that the setups, the rooms are not often that ergonomically beneficial to us. So I remember standing over my hygiene patients, checking their teeth, and thinking, looking down and shaking my head. Well, not really shaking my head, but internally shaking my head, thinking, I can't look at another tooth ever again. How am I doing this? How am I going to get through this day? I can't look at another tooth. So by the end, it was really hard. And, I had that 3 year wake up call where I thought I wanted to quit. And I realized that I at least owed it to myself to try a different work environment. And that was the right move. And then the 7 year mark was when I changed the practice to the third practice. And I said at that one, if this practice doesn't work out, I'm out of here. I'm not
Oh,
doing dentistry anymore. I can't do it.
okay.
And so ultimately it didn't work out. But I really planted the seed and started to try to change in that seventh year, tried to start planting the seed of like what else could I do? So by the time I figured out what to do in year 10, it had been many years of inner turmoil and personal suffering, that I was ready to go. But it's interesting, Ward. I never left dentistry for myself. I only left because my boss wanted me to buy him out of his practice. And that day he said to me that today we're going to start really introducing you to my patients. And a year from now, you'll take over and I'll ride off into the sunset.
Oh my God.
And I knew at that point, and I thought, I can't do that to him. So the only reason I ever allowed, we're such givers, a lot of us dentists.
Yeah.
We put everybody else first, and even leaving dentistry for me, I never did it for myself. I only did it for someone else.
Tell me a little bit more about that. How did you wind up doing that for someone else? And oh, you did it for him. Your doctor, your dentist that wanted to retire.
Yeah,
Okay.
I knew I couldn't string him along.
So did he know? Did you know 3 years ago before you came aboard that you were going to go into possibly taking over his facility?
Kind of. I
Okay.
mean, you kind of do. I think it's a very common thing. A lot of associates come in with the potential that in the future we'll buy out. But
Hmm.
it was a long, convoluted story of um, this was a group practice, and the guy who I originally went there to work with, I was supposed to buy him out. And at a very ripe age, he was still not ready to retire. So there was a different doctor in the practice who saw me there and
Oh,
took me under his wing, and that was sort of a friendship, but also a different practice within the practice. So it wasn't quite a full 3 year commitment. It was more of we had our little trial time. If that does that answer kind of
yeah,
you
yeah,
sound
yeah.
like
We
you're
want to
wondering
know
how did
just,
that come about?
yeah, get an idea, have they planted the seed? Have they told you that they were they were looking for you to take over their practice at some point? But you uh, found that you were ready to take a shift, and you did some research, and you found that you found what was good for you at that point.
I found what? I love that question. Yeah, I mean, I found a lot of confusion because,
Okay. Okay.
because you invest so much into this career and we all
Yeah.
want to be lifers and we
Right.
want it to be our forever. And
Hmm.
it's really you put your identity in the hands of this. Like dentistry becomes your identity, and you get tied to the golden handcuffs, the finances, and so it's very difficult to make that decision. But I had to. My husband gave me the ultimatum that he said, you can't come home like this every day because I was coming home very upset, crying, complaining, insomnia every night, worried. And he was like, our marriage won't survive this. So sort it out. And it was really permission for me, permission that I wasn't giving myself to fix it. So he gave me permission much earlier than I ever gave myself permission. And but really it got to a point where I was so unhappy. I just knew that it was going to be either me or dentistry that was going to have to go, and it wasn't going to be me.
Good. Good. And from there, that point, you decided to go into what area?
Well, I spent several years not knowing what to do, and this is the biggest problem most of us have, as we believe we have no skills. We don't even know who we are or what we like because we've just sort of cruised into this identity,
Mhm.
and everybody else has given us the answers, right? You go to dental school and then you work like this. You even show up at the office and they make you your schedule. You don't even have to make any of those decisions. So I really had no idea what I wanted to do. And part of it was I actually worked with a career coach and got therapy to try to figure it out. And the big shift for me was when I realized that I was putting too much pressure on myself to find the perfect plan B.
Okay.
And that if I could stop trying to have the plan all mapped out before
Yeah.
even making a move,
Mhm.
then I could kind of open up a little more ease for myself and explore and find what I liked. So I started blogging, and that was a huge shift for me because that helped me to really look inward. And then an opportunity over time came my way because I started seeing the world differently. I changed my perspective and I got the opportunity to become a weight loss coach.
Oh, a weight loss coach. That's
That's
interesting.
right.
So, so let me just back up a second. Did you have prior to leaving dentistry and working things out for those couple of years, did you have any? I know you obviously were a great clinician. Did you have any balance with business with the business acumen? What was your business acumen like? at that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the great clinician comment.
Okay.
I,
Well,
hey,
I'm
I was,
thinking about that as a child, a baby. You come up and this is what you're
yeah,
doing now. I mean, you have to be,
yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I was good at it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was good at it because I was always so worried that I couldn't see any of the positive stuff. And I'm sure people will relate to that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, as far as the business side, when I never really had an interest in the business side,
Okay.
and so I just wanted to be that, and I know this is very common. I just wanted to be that associate who would show up and be a little bit of that clinical workhorse, the worker bee for my boss and help my boss, give me the patients. I'll show up and do the clinical dentistry. And, sometimes that's not always the way it works out. And we have to learn that as associates.
Okay.
But I just never really cared about the business, which is kind of funny because now I'm a business owner.
Yeah. 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 So you were working on that from day one, you know. But let's find out now. Now that you moved from, okay, I'm trying to figure this out. I figured out a little something. Weight Watcher coach?
Weight loss.
Weight loss coach. Okay. Weight loss coach. Okay. Then how did that happen?
Yeah, so in my l later years of practicing dentistry, whenever I went to the conference, the local conference here in Denver, I
Hmm.
would find myself taking personal development or nutrition
Oh,
courses through the event
yeah.
and getting CE credits for that.
Yeah.
And I became very interested in health and wellness and nutrition. And
Oh,
so an opportunity came along. My husband's a chiropractor, and there was a weight loss business that, let's say, it's probably most structured like a franchise. I just had to commit to it. Let's say franchise without the franchise costs, right? It wasn't this big six-figure investment. It was a very small investment. I just needed to have my mentor train me, and then I just opened this business. But because it was somebody had approached my husband a friend of his approached him to see if he would want to incorporate it in his practice. And he was curious about it because a lot of chiropractors do add, um, nutrition and functional medicine into their practices. And as he was exploring it, the light bulb went off, and I said to him, "Well, who's going to do this for you? What if I did it?" And it was really like this moment of I needed to see it because so often these opportunities are here, we just don't see them.
hmm.
And so I went through the training. If you're a dentist, you can do that. It's very easy. It's just teaching people the strategy and learning how to coach them. And we coach in dentistry all the time. We coach and educate our patients. So it was just sort of shifting over to a different thing. And I was lucky to be able to start this business with under the umbrella of my husband's practice. So I didn't have to be my own front office or hire a front office or do any of those other things. It was like I just get to show up and do this work and try to build this business. So I did it while I was doing dentistry. I'm a big fan of the side gig. The side gig is the best vehicle because what other career is like dentistry that allows you all of um, that extra time? You can work fewer days and still make a good income. So I was working about 3 days a week in dentistry, two or three. It's crazy. I can't even remember. It's been that long. But
Mm.
I was doing 2 days a week doing this weight loss coaching. And so it was a great way to try to build that up while I slowly phase out dentistry. It's a really safe way of creating something new.
So how long did it take you to they just phase out totally from dentistry?
Well, I kept saying when I hit X number of dollar revenue, then I'll leave dentistry. And what happened before that was that boss of mine asked me to be his owner. I'm sorry, to buy him out.
Yes.
And it forced me out before I ever hit that.
Okay.
So Um, the weight loss coaching business was fine. It did okay. I think I call it a bridge career. It was a thing to get me out of what was so wrong for me and then get me to the other side of the right career. And I'm really grateful now that it never quite took off because that led me to what I do now and to come back into dentistry.
Mhm. Oh, okay. So then, I'm curious, Dr. Brenner. I'm just trying to figure out. I know you said you had some emotional um, uh, kind of things going on with the field of dentistry. Is there anything particular that kind of like say, okay, I'm done, you know, what overwhelmed you or what really took you out of just that, no, this is not going to work
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. So I always said it was the dynamic. I'd say the biggest problem for me was the dynamics of the patient dentist relationship. And so in recent months, I've come across a term that I think is probably a good term that I've never wanted to admit about myself. Uh, and it's calling myself a highly sensitive person. Um, this is a pattern I see with dentists who feel a lot of stress from dentistry and a lot of burnout and the reason I never wanted to consider myself a highly sensitive person is because I think sometimes we see that as a weakness. Oh, you're
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yeah, right, right.
And it's not quite like that.
Huh.
It's really more of being in tune, so attuned to other people's feelings that I feel them too.
Yes.
And a lot of dentists feel this way. We are natural caretakers, natural givers,
Mm-hmm.
and we really want to make everybody else happy. We want to give them the best experience. We want the results to be amazing. And so when things don't work out that way, we punish ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We worry, we berate ourselves for doing it wrong or being a failure, or we end up carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. So that is a pattern that I've seen over and over of when you want to separate the dentists who really enjoy this work and aren't bothered by it at all. Like they're just like, it's cool. So I used to think they were delusional because I was like, how can you not worry about these things? Um, it's because they oftentimes still do care about their patients, but they have really good personal boundaries. Whereas a lot of us, the ones who are really feeling a lot of pain from this everyday work and the pressure of making everything perfect, it is because we are carrying everyone else's burdens, everyone else's responsibilities. We feel like we need to be the hero to fix everything, and it takes you down.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there's totally nothing wrong with being a tree, if you will, because you're feeling everything. Your roots are really like moving all through the earth and you're real earthy. That's nothing wrong with that at all. And I applaud you that you were honest with yourself and that you said, okay, I have to I got to make a pivot here. And how long ago was that?
Yeah, well, gosh, I've been out of dentistry longer than I was in.
Oh,
I left in 2011 after
oh,
practicing for 10 years. So in about a month, it'll be my 14-year anniversary of leaving. So yeah, it's life, but I still remember. I mean, I'll tell you, I remember every bit of it, every pain, every every anxiety, every
okay.
dynamic.
Yes.
It sticks with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So that's a place you never return. But then you pivot again after working as a weight coach.
Uh-huh.
And then you said, okay, this is where I want to. After you were done with the bridge piece, now you're into what you want to do. and what you feel comfortable with. And that's back into really not just helping dentists, but seeing dentists like just take off because of this information that you have. Share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was being coached many years ago by my career coach, I remember thinking, this is really cool. I would love to someday help other dentists do this. And the reality is although there are parts of my story that I knew I didn't want to be in dentistry. I wanted to quit clinical. Um, there was also that part of me that was hanging on. And so my original intention with her was I want to see if I can find a way to enjoy dentistry.
Mm,
And when I was working with her on that, there were moments where it was very helpful. And I thought, well, this is really cool. I'd love to help other dentists like me someday.
okay.
And I never allowed myself to go back to it because of my own imposter syndrome of feeling like a failure. A lot of us feel this when we don't love this work like everybody else. We feel like, what's wrong with us? Why can't I handle the stress when everyone else can? In my case, I felt that as well as I felt like, wow, oh, everybody's going to see me. I'm so great at quitting. That's great. Everybody's so excited for me that I'm so great at quitting. But what have I built? And so I needed to go through that process of building another business. I tried other side gigs too, of really diving in to say, you know what? It's time I try this. Like, stop playing small and stop feeling like like you've been successful. You've proven it to yourself. Just stop. And so I really just, again, needed to give myself another permission to say, you can do this. And that is what I'm meant to be doing. So sometimes when we're looking at our lives and we're saying, gosh, this isn't working out the way I want it to, and that's not working out the way I want it to, sometimes that's a gift because it leads us to what we're really meant to do. And I would have never done this if the loss coaching business took off the way I wanted it to. And I guarantee you 10 years would have gone by. 10 years did go by, but probably another 10 years doing that would have gone by. And I would have ended up feeling just as stuck as I was when I was in dentistry.
Yeah, and then when with all of that in mind, you happen to write a blog that had to do with dentistry. 10 what? 10 reasons. Help me with that title. But anyway, the title of that got people interested in and it went viral.
That's right. That's right. It was 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too.
Right, right, right. Ooh, I mean, that's quite a title.
Spicy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, times are different now. This was in 2011 that I
Okay.
wrote this. And so really, we didn't have Facebook groups. There was no Instagram, TikTok.
Oh,
People weren't saying these things publicly. So it was the first time that someone came out and said, wait a minute, we are tired of you, the public, telling us how much you hate us and making fun of us and, we're torturing you and all that stuff. Now
mhm.
we're going to turn the tables, and people loved it.
Oh,
It was like a release. It was like, ah, blah, I can say everything I want to say.
right,
But I did
right.
it for them.
And you made such a huge connection by putting those thoughts out there. And from that, your coaching just went on its way with the way it should be, and you're doing really wonderfully with that right now. So talk to us about that.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So that was sort of the thing that I realized when that happened. I started getting all of these emails from other dentists who were saying, wow, I feel similar. I feel the exact same way about dentistry. Can you give me advice? How did you do this? And so it was actually really the best thing for me because in 2011, quitting dentistry, I thought I was the only one. And then suddenly I started to see, hey, I'm not alone here.
Oh,
And I say this everywhere I go. My favorite one of my all-time favorite quotes is by Brene Brown. She
Hmm.
says that isolation breeds shame
Mm.
and empathy kills shame. And that was exactly what happened to me was I was so isolated all those years. All these dentists who feel the same way and can't tell anyone, it is makes you feel so ashamed. And then this, in one post, suddenly I had all these people cheering me on. And over time, that helped me build my confidence for what I was doing. And I really needed to go through my own personal grieving and healing process because it is like a divorce
Right.
and really separate myself from dentistry so that I could see it as my friend again and
Hmm.
love it again. And so I wrote that post, and then 6 years later, I decided to become a coach. And I love what I do because I get to be me. I get to share my real experience and my stories. And luckily, people like you embrace it and allow me to share it. And we're no longer hiding this part of our our profession that is hurting a lot of people. So it's just really so fulfilling to be able to see other people experience the pain that I experienced and then help them find solutions for it.
That's awesome. So you got to be your authentic self, and you're helping others to do the same. And I mean, I mean, and you said you went through, quite a bit to get there, and that's usually the case. I mean, you were going through boundaries of, just knocking down blocks and jumping over hurdles and doing things that, that wasn't you weren't familiar with. It was uncomfortable, but you got through it, and now you're helping others. I mean, tell me some of the things that you're, I mean, like, we're not saying dentistry. First, let me just, you know, put a disclaimer to here. We're not saying, you know, don't deal with dentistry. Dentistry is not a good business. We're not saying that at all. But we are saying there are people out here that have gotten into dentistry and they don't like it. I mean, I've heard this story before, and they had to do something else. Some stayed in, some did not. You decided to, hey, not only I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna come back and be a better me in this community. So, what are you doing with dentists that want to stay into dentistry? And if they don't, what happens then? How do you help them? How do you coach them through to their next bridge career
Mhm,
to
mhm.
get to wherever they want to go afterwards?
Well, I love your disclaimer, and I'll add my disclaimer that I always add is that I wish I loved dentistry. Dentistry is a really great profession.
Hmm.
We all wish we loved it, those of us who don't.
Hmm.
And I'm never here to get people to quit dentistry or say that you should quit or you should stay. I just want you to do what you want to do. And that's what I'm here to help people do is figure out what they want to do and do it. So um, there's also this belief that there is no one way to define success in dentistry. And this is an old cultural pattern that we have that you have to fit in a certain mold in order to be seen as
Box, right?
successful. Yes. $1 million practice. I
Right.
own it, right? All those things.
Blinders on, right?
Yeah, and people have told me, like associates have told me that and I never really knew this until they told me because I didn't care. I liked being an associate, but they said, as an associate, I don't feel like I'm good enough in dentistry. So I really like to change this dialogue and this belief system that you have to be a certain way. And so for people who want to stay, that might be part of it. It might say, how can you redesign your career so that it fits into your life? And a lot of times with people who want to try to stay, we look at that stuff I was saying earlier about that being a highly sensitive person. We
Hmm.
look at like what are you doing? How are you seeing the world that's creating the stress that you're experiencing? Because that's really what's happening. I will be the first to admit that me not liking dentistry was my thing. It was about me. It was about nobody else, all about me. And I take responsibility for that. As hard as I tried, I couldn't let go of what I felt about dentistry. So I'd say for somebody who's thinking that they might not like it, they might want to leave, always start with you and how can you change your beliefs and your attitudes and the way you see the world with your perspective so
Hmm.
that maybe you don't respond or react to stress the way you are. If you find new patterns and new ways of seeing those stressful events that happen in your office. So it's a lot of mindset work.
Hmm.
Um, but if that's not working for you, if you're doing that and you still feel a lot of pain from this work, then I love helping people also find alternatives. It may be going non-clinical and still in dentistry. It may be starting your own side gig that can be that thing that you slowly build. And most of the people I know who've started side gigs have so much more fun in life because they have something else. Dentistry is not their whole world. It
Hmm.
even sometimes can make them enjoy dentistry more.
Hmm.
And then if your side gig, if you keep going and it takes off, you start to decrease your days in dentistry and you're never having to do the scary thing and jump off the career cliff. But it really all, even that comes down to making decisions and being accountable and getting into small action steps. I really encourage small steps because big steps scare us into paralysis and we don't do anything. But at the end of the day, it really goes back to your mindset.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea too that you chose or you choose small steps instead of just, trying to eat the whole elephant, if you will,
Yep.
in one bite. You know, having someone that's having an issue with their career in dentistry, and then because I never actually heard of um, I don't think I know one dentist that's talking to other dentists about, okay, so you don't like dentistry. Well, you want to take a look at this or that, and these are the steps to get from A to B. This is new to me.
I
And
love it.
I'm like, and I've talked to a few dentists, so I'm wondering what those conversations are like when what do you, how do you bring in someone or interview a person that's having these issues? What are the first 5 or 10 questions that you ask?
Oh, yeah. Well, I usually try to understand what's bothering them.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because sometimes it's like it's the patients, sometimes it's the staff, and sometimes it's the business side of things. So it just sort of is different for everyone, but there's usually a part of it. Some people are pretty happy with the actual dentistry, but it's everything around it. It's all the hassles of employee retention and all that stuff, all the pressure, the stress. We put so much pressure on ourselves in dentistry. So it's really understanding that, and then it's understanding that in their ideal world, how would they solve that?
Hmm.
And what would they want their lives to look like? And you know what? The hardest question for most people to answer is what I want my life to look like.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
again, we're told how to do everything in life, and it serves us well, so we don't have to do that inner exploration.
Hmm.
So once we do that, it's also looking at, well, what have you tried? What have you tried that's not worked or that has worked? And what do you think's getting in your way from taking these steps? And it's always me, or it's always the person.
Mhm.
And I know because that was me. I was the one in my way. There's a strategy, there's a pathway. I've systematized this process.
Okay.
Which is weird because I never thought I could because it's so individual. But
Mm.
it's really about opening up and giving yourself permission to change.
So what does that system look like?
Well, if I were to divide it into three pillars, the first pillar would be mindset. So looking at, we were all taught these rules of how life is supposed to be, and we're all living life according to these rules that were handed down to us by society, by dental school, by our parents. And they served us well, they got us here, but a lot of times these rules, we don't believe them anymore, and they're actually keeping us stuck.
Ooh, okay.
Good, right?
Yeah.
And we're blindly following them. And if you
Yeah.
really stop and identify what do I really believe is true? I mean, one rule could be the only way to be successful in dentistry is to own a practice and make $1 million.
Hmm.
And there are people who believe that, and that's great as long as it works for you.
Hmm.
But for somebody who that's making them feel like a failure or it's making them feel like they can't win or whatever it is, then they would reflect on that and say, you know what? I don't really care about making all the money in the world. I could be happy doing dentistry 2 days a week and making half that, or, not 500,000, but let's be realistic, but half of what I would make full time, and that will make me happy. And then, but seeing that that is also success in dentistry, you have to change that first before you'll even allow yourself to entertain that idea. So we start with the mindset, our beliefs, our rules, and then once we give ourselves permission to change, we look at well, if it's in dentistry, it's really looking at what do you want. It's a lot easier to find what people want in dentistry because we're in that world. It's sort of a safer path. But if you really want to leave clinical dentistry, we start connecting with who you are. It's very individual. What's important to you?
Hmm.
Who do you want to be? Who are you? What do you love? It's kind of like dating your career.
Hmm.
And then the dating part comes in when the third pillar is once you know a little more about yourself, we brainstorm different things that you could explore, that tangible side gig ideas or jobs,
Hmm.
and we brainstorm them, and then we just pick one. And then we break that down into those small, small steps. Because if you picture yourself going from idea to finished product, you're gonna you're gonna be good for a week, and then on that sixth day, you're gonna say, "Oh, I can't do that. This is too hard," because you're looking at the end picture. So when we break it down into small, doable steps, every step we want it so that it doesn't cost you a lot of time and it doesn't cost you a lot of money. Because if it's going to cost you, you're probably not going to do it. But
Hmm.
at the end of each step, if it's still a green light, you keep going and suddenly you've built a business. And if it turns into a red light, that's okay because you've learned. It's like dating. You've learned, you've gained something, and you now know more about yourself and what you want.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So then we have mindset. We have finding who you are, that authentic self. And what's the third? What's the third
Third
thing?
is action,
Action.
action and
Put it
strategy.
in
And
action.
you know why that's so important is so many of us don't ever take action and we want that plan. But
Hmm.
think about life. You get your answers through action. You
Hmm.
would never have known what being a dentist was like until you actually did it, right?
Hmm.
And so just like with anything else, you can't know what it's going to be like until you do something.
Okay.
So we like to find ways to help you reduce the unknown so you can try it on some level at least. I mean, we didn't get to do that in dentistry. You couldn't be a dentist without investing your whole life into it.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it was full commitment. But I do understand how we've gotten, or we were at a point where you follow these steps and there's no questions. This is the way it's done, and you just go down this path, and eventually you're going to be where I'm at one day, okay? Wherever that is. And but yet the questions that you have in the back of your mind is like, or in the front, wherever it is, it's like, but that's not the way I would do that. You know, I would want to do that a little bit differently. And that's where you come in because you have, you know, worked out some of the things in your mind. You put it into into a package, if you will, that will allow others that may have the same experience as you to move a bit more freely in their thought process to get from mindset to um, to the point. I forget what part two is. Then authentic self or the person, and then putting that action into place. Those areas are very very important foundation kind of pieces uh, to go anywhere, to do anything. And so I'm wondering how how is this how are things going right now for you? Are you finding yourself doing more work now than you've ever done? I know you're obviously happy at what you're doing. Where are you now with helping the dentists that want to stay or say nay?
Well, once an achiever, always an achiever. So the challenge with not having office hours and working from home is that as achievers, we don't turn it off.
Mm,
So I can find myself even working more hours. For me, they're much less stressful and much more enjoyable hours. And part of the reason I do it is because I love what I do now.
yes.
But it's really hard. I've had to work on that. And I, once again, am having to face the addiction to using your achievements and your value of work to define your worth.
Mm,
And I think that's part of our I mean I like for real call it an addiction. It's like we're addicted to using our achieving to make us feel good about who we are. And that's great in some ways. And if we could just find a little better balance of that so that I'm not working all the time, but I am learning to cut myself off a little bit more and not put so much pressure on myself to keep going, 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 because you can get stuck doing that. And when you work from home, there are no boundaries.
yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't turn it off, but it's important to learn how and when, and doing that as much as possible when needed. So, is there anything that we've missed so far? This has been excellent information for people to take take in and want to call you possibly to see more and listen to more of how to go through your system to make those type of connections to the bridge or to the next career, if you will, if that's what they wanted to do. Have we missed anything?
Well, one thing I'll bring in, because this is the Wealthy Dentist podcast, is how I define wealth,
Okay.
right? Because I think we talk a lot in dentistry about financial wealth.
Hmm.
And to me, there's a bigger picture to wealth, and that is your health, your sense of joy, your well-being,
Hmm.
your fulfillment.
Hmm.
And I just want people to know that you are much more valuable than any dollar, than any money is. And we are the ones who have the skill and the ability to make the money. So
Mm.
when we make money more important and bigger than us, we're missing how much value we inherently have as people. So it's just a little thing I'd want to add, which I think is so important to what you do, and I'm sure you embrace that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, that's huge. No question about that. You got to have that health piece there. And underneath health is so many other areas, mental health, making emotional deposits to your family members, the people that you love. I mean, because when you're doing that, that's coming back at you, you know? I mean, you're not looking for it, but it's coming back at you, whether you're making a withdrawal, you're making a deposit, doesn't matter. Just as long as it's an authentic transaction, right?
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. If someone wanted to reach out to you and talk more with you about our conversation, how would they do that?
Well, you can find me on my website. It's lolabeescareercoaching.com, and I do have a free guide that I share that's titled Six Reasons You're Burnt Out in Your Dental Career. So if anybody wants to have access to that, you can find it there. If you can't find it, just Google 10 Reasons Your Dentist Hates You, and you'll find me right at the top, Lola Bees. But I'm also on Instagram as Dr. Lola Bees and Facebook as I have a Facebook group called Dentist Side Gigs,
Oh,
and it's great. Welcome and invite anybody to join. And I'm also on LinkedIn. That's how we met on LinkedIn. So Laura Brenner, I think DDS on there. I'll send you the links.
awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us about Lola Bees, which we didn't. I wanted you to tell us that about that story really quick. Can we hit it
Yeah,
right quick?
yeah,
How did
absolutely.
that come up? How did that come about?
Yeah, so well, it was totally organic. It was an email name I picked back in 2001 when I needed an email. I thought Lola B, some Laura, there was no Laura B. It wasn't like it was already taken, so I was trying to be clever and creative, and I thought it was sounded like bumblebees. So I did Lola Bees. And then when I wanted to start my blog, I didn't know what to call it, so I called it Lola Bees. And then when I went to really turn that into a business, I was like, well, people kind of know my blog as Lola Bees, so I may as well keep it as Lola Bees Career Coaching. And I love sharing that because it's not that important. I mean, I know names are important, but also what's important is what you do and just getting started and not having to be perfect to get things started. Well, it
Absolutely.
turns out that the bumblebee is a very communal creature.
Hmm.
Community is very important to me. The work I do
Hmm.
depends so deeply on community.
Hmm.
And bees physiologically are not designed to be able to fly, but they can. And so they're really doing the impossible. So it was this completely accidental name that kept evolving that I just kept going with just because I didn't care and I liked it. It's me. And it turns out that the symbolism is perfect for what I do.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that story. And thank you again for coming in and sharing everything with us. Um, have a great rest of the day. I really appreciate this. This is going to be great.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here with you.
Yep. The Wealthy Dentist podcast is built on connections, opportunities, and meaningful conversations that help jumpstart careers and boost the ROI on your business. Is there a topic you're passionate about or someone in the dental community who should share their story with us? We want to hear from you. Email your suggestions to the Wealthy Dentist Podcast at gmail.com and let's create content that informs, inspires, and uplifts the dental world. Your ideas could spark our next big conversation. Let's make it happen. I'm Ward Powell, your host at the Walter Dentist Podcast, thanking you for being a part of our journey.